addressing the crisis and effectively managing the energy crisis in the country. And this is in no way a departure from the ANC conference resolution on transferring ESCOM to energy. That task is the task of a reconfiguration of government. He has announced a number of concrete measures and programs that will set South Africa on a renewed growth and development path in the short, medium, and long term. We welcome the announcement of the state of national disaster as an important step to tackle the electricity crisis and its effects on the country. We announced at the end of our Lekgotla that for us to come close to what is happening in our country and to dealing with the crisis, because it is a crisis, and we are not in denial about that, and the state of the nation was indeed the true state of the nation. It was not philosophy, it was not slogans, it was a program in terms of what needs to be done. It was partly also a reflection on some of the things that the president said he will do and his government in the past year, and elaborating substantially in the statement about what work has been done, because our government has received criticism that president makes announcement and every year in and year out, and there's no reflection on what has been done. If you look at the statement, there is a litany of things that were announced and concrete reporting back to the nation about what has been done and the difficulties that government has faced, which among others is this crisis of electricity we are dealing about. We welcome the announcement of the state of national disaster as the important intervention. We are determined, working with the people of South Africa, to ensure that the ANC-led government take necessary measures to tackle poverty, unemployment, inequality, the rising cost of living, crime and corruption. To move towards a growing people's economy, we have to rapidly build an inclusive economy, which must enable thriving black and women industrialists, as well as small businesses and cooperatives. This will require a massive, effective and sustainable skills revolution, which will strengthen the link between the skills that we develop and the skills workplaces need. The SONA has also strengthened the resolve to lift people out of poverty and unemployment through the social wage, which includes public employment programs and the social grants, which have proven to be lifeline for livelihoods of many of our people. We also welcome programs and campaigns to buy locally produced goods because of its positive spin-off on local manufacturing and the economy. For all these initiatives and programs to succeed and to move South Africa forward, the ANC-led government is taking decisive steps to win the fight against crime and corruption, which are causing daily fear among citizens and are destructive for social and economic development of the country. These steps will require the input and active participation of all patriotic South African citizens in various national anti-crime programs, such as the strengthening of community policing and safety forums at ward level, block and street levels, and the protection of community facilities against vandalism and destruction. We welcome programs underway to rebuild and strengthen all law enforcement agencies. These agencies are already taking firm action against companies and individuals alleged to have been involved in state capture and other criminal activities. The law enforcement agencies have recovered and are continuing to recover money and assets associated with state capture. They are also firmly dealing with cases of kidnapping, extortion, illegal mining, cable theft, and other crimes related to economic sabotage. But our approach as the ANC is that government cannot do it alone. For crime to be undermined thoroughly, it means communities must come to the party. The people who are killing us, the criminals who are extorting, live among us. We pay homage to the people who died in Gqeberha, in Kunu, who got killed by criminals, who are still at large, and who killed people who were just relaxing and socializing in the community. And we believe that special units like TRUT Amaperete must be revived to deal with tactical response in terms of dealing with violent crimes. We welcome the commitment by the President to the plan he represented in 2022 to implement the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. We expect all the announced programs to be adequately funded when the budget is presented by the Minister of Finance later this year. We will therefore not be distracted in our endeavor. One of the key things that we welcome in terms of this State of the Nation address, among others, is intervention in local government. Local government is in a total state of distress, and some of it because of our making as a political party, the ANC. And we make a pledge to the people of South Africa and to this government as well, that the problems of local government, one, they are political in the main, where in which there is instability at a political level. Secondly, it is the coalition arrangement, which has not worked in many of our big municipalities, where in which coalitions collapse, and that undermines service delivery. And a narrow political interest, selfish for power, because coalitions, in our belief, must be determined by largely what is the view of the people in terms of the outcome of the vote. But in this instance, even smaller political parties, when you come to coalition negotiations, want to rule. Bigger political parties are in the periphery. So coalition governments, where there's no outright winner, must be informed by the fact that what is in the interest of the people to govern the city, Cape Town, or whatever city. And those political parties must mature and give space to the fact that we didn't win the election. And in this particular instance, the people wanted this arrangement, and then how do we govern? To disburse budgets and all of that. So our first political crisis, we in the ANC admit, where some of our public representatives have undermined the mandate of the people and the mandate of the party within these governments, and they brought about instability. And secondly, going with that is how we select Section 57 managers in local government. That's the first problem of local government. The second one is a problem of and a challenge of revenue. How do communities come to the party in terms of a revenue generation, service delivery versus revenue generation, and communities paying for the services? And that is what is important also, that we need to build this strong contract with our communities. But communities come to the party where they can see service delivery. But we know that the majority of our communities are in distress. and this government is looking after them in terms of our indigent policy and intervention. But over and above, those who can afford to pay must pay for services. And we call upon government as well in terms of these issues that we resolve matters of the debt liability of local government to ESCOM, but also liability of citizens who are not paying, like in townships like Soweto and so on, and bring about a solution in terms of what needs to happen to those municipalities. As the ANC, we are going to ensure that we implement the barometer to hold our own public representatives at all levels, starting with the president downwards and local government, to ensure that we are able to implement what is in the interest of the people. And where people do not do their work, the barometer will tell a story. Where people who have been selected by our own public representatives and do not have the requisite qualifications, we need answers and action, and those people must be withdrawn. And that barometer will be dispatched to our structures as soon as possible, as it is the directive, among others, of our Lekgotla. So local government is very much important in terms of the work that we need to undertake. And the president addressed that yesterday. The last point, which we welcome, is the reconfiguration of government. We got a firm commitment from government yesterday that government will be restructured, will be reconfigured, based on our experience and the work that has been done in dealing with the red tape, in dealing with the overlapping mandates. Can it be Transnet? Can it be SAA? Can it be ESCOM? And all of that. The mandate of our national conference is that these entities must be reconfigured to be aligned. And the vision of government to create a state-owned company going forward. Obviously, that reconfiguration, some of it will be implemented, some will not, will be implemented in the long term. As a reconfiguring government takes time, the immediate question before us is to create jobs, to address electricity security and electricity crisis that is brought about by load shedding. That is key. And then the cost of living of our people, interest rates, inflation, and at the same time address even how load shedding have affected communities in distress. Issues of transport, resolving issues of passenger rail as they have been resolved at the present moment, getting the passenger rail network back on track in all corridors in our country, building the infrastructure as the lodestar in terms of economic growth going forward and creation of jobs in our country. So there's been a big announcement yesterday, and we're looking at the figures next week because it's fine to make commitments, but it's something else to balance that with the figure that will this be funded. Zoom Vubu, for instance, it will now get funding from government. And work has already been started, foundations have started in the Eastern Cape, and we are very much delighted about that. Issues of water have been attended to. So it's government at work, and we are very much pleased about the positive result we're getting in terms of the state of the nation, but with a big criticism that will this be done? And we want to add as the ANC that, Mr. President, if this is not done, heads must roll. And we will be watching. And the ANC constitution mandate us as the National Executive Committee. The times of buddy-buddy, the times of watching people failing on duty are over. ministers tripping over each other, talking against each other, councillors doing as they wish, and MECs blocking delivery, and all of that are over. The ANC has agreed to establish a service delivery monitoring team at headquarters. We will unveil that team in the next coming weeks as part of our program of action. We will be watching, we will table reports, we will take action. Because this is the year of decisive action to serve the people's interest. And that is what January 8 statement instructs us to do. So, if there is no delivery in the good action plan that everybody is applauding, business, labor, and everyone else, civil society that implement this plan, we are content. We don't want to lock ourselves on the discussion about the correctness of the decision of the electricity minister and so on. The electricity minister is a project manager to look over ESCOM so that the president can speak from an informed position. The country can speak from an informed position. Just like you've got the Minister of Health during the era of COVID, Zweli Nimkhize. He informed the cabinet on all matters of health and intervention. We did well with all the setbacks we had, which we recovered quickly, particularly the PPEs and the corruption around it, which we have learned a lot. And President committed yesterday that in terms of the intervention on the disaster, AG's office will be involved and all other law enforcement to ensure that we don't minimize, we deal with corruption, but we cut the red tape. And we also move from an informed position about what exactly are we doing, where are we in terms of the action plan. So the Minister of Electricity, Mr. Project Manager, who will deal with electricity intervention, will deal with that. I've seen that there's a lot of excitement politically on this. It defined the discourse why Minister of others were doing jokes about it, that the Minister of Electricity is already at work. And of course the DA is going overboard and distorting the figures and all of that, that this is what the minister will cost and so on. There will be no deputy minister. The Minister of Electricity, focusing on resolving the electricity crisis as part of the intervention. Over and above, working within the realm of disaster management and everything else as a package. Unbundling of ESCOM, all of those things must happen. ESCOM will move from Department of Public Enterprise to Mineral and Energy. And we're discussing, among others, what will happen to Department of Mineral and Energy in the long term, not now, in this reconfigured arrangement. A lot of departments are going to be reconfigured. The president and his team are working on that, and they've announced yesterday. And we want these departments to be reconfigured. We want ESCOM to go where it belongs. We want SAA to go where it belongs. We want the trains and transport issues to go where they belong. And then the SOEs must be reorganized and then make an intervention, more or less the model of China in terms of state-owned entities, and implement it in the Republic. But the president, when he's ready, he will make announcements on that. So Minister of Electricity is in no way a reconfiguration of government. It's an intervention. It can even end when load shedding ends. It's like the minister in the presidency who was dealing with RDP during Madiba, Naidu, the former General Secretary of COSATU. He was the minister responsible for the implementation of RDP. but he had to implement RDP. He did not have the budget to implement the RDP. So because we did not have financial capital to implement the RDP, so hence we had to implement other policies to generate financial capital to do what we had to do in the past years. So this minister will be given a mandate, and it will be further refined so that it's not handicapped by intolerant territorial bullies in the system who will want to say, no, this is my territory, don't come close. The president will resolve those issues. The Minister of Electricity will sleep at ESCOM, eat ESCOM, wake up at ESCOM and brief the country at ESCOM. Live at Kusile, tell the story of whether we are making headways. As we speak now, load shedding, we are working to reverse it, but not at the pace we want. We've been talking one story and the same for the past 5 years or so. So we must resolve this, and this minister in the presidency is going to. So this must not be conflated with Mondli and what is mandated to do and others. Mondli have inherited in the presidency MNE, National Planning Commission. All what the president did was to take intelligence and then assign it to Mondli and have a deputy Bin Zizi, and also have a deputy Siweya to Mondli dealing with MNE in government. That's all. So the Minister of Electricity is welcomed by the ANC because we don't view that as a total departure from what we want to achieve with the transfer of ESCOM to energy in this country. Lastly, we will therefore not be distracted by little sideshows, by a few which are mainly driven by political intolerance. We must be tolerant in this country. You can't promise the whole country that you are going to stop parliament when you are stopped on your tracks because of your own actions. You cry foul. It's like, asking for rain. When it rains, you complain about mud. You are Mr. Action. We are in a democratic space. There is tolerance here. You can protest, you can do anything. And then to disrupt is anarchy in a democratic space. And worst of all, disruption can also extend to hooliganism. Hooliganism. You undermine the rules of parliament that are set. If the rules are being undermined, the speaker, you can go to court. That the speaker undermined the rules, take the speaker to task. But when you charge to somebody on the platform with a poster who is speaking in parliament and running, and that person is a state president, running with a poster to the podium, you are attacking. So it could be interpreted in many ways. But nonetheless, these gimmicks were used to. It is just that yesterday it took a different shape. And we as the ANC, we are not proud to see our parliament turn to a war zone. And we will never be proud of that. But we support the actions that have been taken by the Speaker and the Presidium to ensure that the state of the nation that is awaited by the people of this country did go unhindered, and at the end the President delivered the state of the nation, which is key to this country, affect lives of ordinary people. So the sideshow will be dealt with in accordance to the law and in accordance to the prescripts of Parliament. And those who are members of Parliament have got to conduct themselves in a particular way. But who are we to dictate to a political party what strategy you choose to make yourself relevant? If you choose to be rowdy and anarchist and you think that is what gives you votes, then the ANC can't dictate to that. We call for decorum. We still engaged robustly yesterday, and political parties raised their concerns. Some of them we agree with, we don't, about what actually happened. But nonetheless, we are very much happy about the fact that the State of the Nation was actually delivered. This reprehensible behavior must be condemned, in our view, by all patriotic and democracy-loving South Africans. And we therefore fully support measures taken by the presiding officers during SONA to enforce the joint rules of the National Assembly and NCOP. And we wish that this could not happen, but we know it will happen, because people who are carrying out these activities have vowed not to stop. They will carry on this path. But at all times, we ask for restraint and deal with issues cool-headed and within the prescripts of the law. But at the end of the day, the rule of law must actually prevail. That includes issues of shutdown. People have got the right to protest, but they've got no right to infringe on the rights of ordinary South Africans. When you say that people must not go to work, what do you mean as a political party and a Democrat? What do you mean? When you say that we must not go to work, you call on truck drivers to close the roads, taxi drivers to close the roads. You are calling for lawlessness. Lawlessness. If you believe in superior logic, that's opposite. Superior logic that is thriving on anarchy to gain attention. In political terms, it is called global demagoguery. That is now defining the world politics, which have failed in Brazil, by the way. Lula has come back against global demagoguery and populism, and he has come back to lead Brazil. The ANC will not be thrown out of power by demagoguery. Yes, it can be out of power if it is intolerant, it is arrogant, it does not deliver. The ANC will be out of power. But populism, demagoguery, will not take us out of power. We can promise anyone else. Do not. But if we are arrogant, we don't deliver to our people will vote us out of power and will lose power as the ANC. And that is why it is important to work for our people. We don't want to venture into the political space and choose tactics for other political parties. We don't feel proud when our parliament, in front of citizens of the world, speakers of other parliament in the African continent, see what we saw there yesterday. People being pulled out of parliament and all of that. This parliament had to adopt those rules because quite clearly, depending on the interest of another political party with a small percentage, a party which has got the majority and the right to give a state of the nation through its president will be debarred from speaking in parliament. Democracy cannot be tolerant to that. It cannot. Superior logic means you rise through the ideas and the people love you because you are superior and you are an individual or a party that can be listened to because you are superior in terms of ideas, but not through anarchy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. At this point, I'd like to invite commentary, questions from yourselves. We're wanting to keep this very interactive, but yet brief, so that the SG has a chance to do one-on-ones. I know that colleagues in the print space often complain about the fact that they don't have enough time to dive deeper. And so we want to be able to satisfy all the media platforms and the different mediums of the media. So I'd like us to be really crisp with our questions. We'll respond, and then where there is a need for us to do the one-on-ones, I'm looking for Comrade Amos as I speak, for us to allow for that, the curating of that in such a way that we don't disadvantage any media house as part of this interaction with members of the media. So may I have the first takers I'm actually going to stand because of my height. I'm going to start with my sister over here and then move on with others. The cameras are blocking the view as well. So I'll start with my sister over here and then my brother over here in the front. Let's just do it. Okay, and then it will be TD, the third person to ask the question. Please proceed.
Thank you so much and welcome to Cape Town. My name is Alti from Newsroom Africa. I have two questions. One is in relation to an issue that you've already clarified, but perhaps respond to particularly the criticism around, particularly from opposition parties, on the issue of appointing a new minister within the presidency. One of the opposition parties, in fact, said that the president is creating another cabinet of his own within the presidency, just to sum it up. And the second question is around, again, criticism from the opposition, which says that the declaration of the national state of disaster is opening up an avenue of potential looting and corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. How about you?
Along with Korobana from the SABC. SG, you're saying that the envisaged electricity minister will be a project manager. And we are saying that there won't be any deputy for the current for the electricity minister. Is it a temporal measure that this minister, as and when that the load shedding is still going or not? Is that what you are saying? If you can give that clarity.
Thank you very much. Sidi?
All right, thank you so much. Sidi Nadia, Eyewitness News. I just kind of touched on my first questions around the Minister of Electricity. It's not only that the President might be creating super ministry with his office, but the President's office doesn't account to Parliament. So the way people look at it is not only is there a super cabinet, but these are people who don't necessarily have to tell the country and account to us as to what's going on. But also, there's an issue where with the Minister of Electricity is it a vote of no confidence in the two people who were tasked already with dealing with the issue of electricity. You've got Praveen Godan at Public Enterprises and Gwede Mantashe at electricity. At minerals and energy. Is it a question of the President working around them? The other thing, again, on the Minister of Electricity is that the President in the same speech speaks about how, they want to try and cut 27 billion because of duplications and duplications and how overlapping in the system. Part of that is because he's created a super presidency. In creating these appointments, it's not just electricity, it is infrastructure, it is climate, it is red tape. There are ministers who are able to deal with that. And then you have a minister and the presidency saying that the Minister of Electricity's job is to be able to respond to the president, to account to the president. Then one would ask, what does Mbalula as transport minister do? Is your job not to report directly to the president as well? Just your view on that. And then on the state of disaster as well. The DA has done something really strange where they wanted a state of disaster, ring-fenced or not, then suddenly they're against it, they want to take it to court. But all of that speaks to a lack of confidence in how the ANC government handled the last state of disaster. It speaks about fears of what will happen. It speaks about the court matter that's currently still, I think, pending, where they don't want all power sitting with a minister specifically. That speaks to concerns that I think are wider than the DA, where South Africans are concerned. There is a credibility question around the way the ANC government deals with particular matters. I know that there is a caveat with the Auditor General being involved, and the Auditor General, of course, being involved in KwaZulu-Natal as well. I just want you to weigh in on that. And lastly, on local government, Max, the President speaks about how local government and state-owned enterprises are the weaknesses in the state at the moment. I know the ANC and Lekgotla spoke about wanting to intervene and trying to deploy its senior members to try and assist. What will that actually look like? Are we going to see NEC members being deployed as mayors possibly? What is the vision there? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sidi. SG, can I take 2 more?
Sorry, it wasn't short and sharp. I apologize.
It wasn't short and sharp, but it was essential questions. I have another round of questions. I just wanted to try and manage this as best as possible. Can I take you, Aviwe? And then, are you comfortable to do, to hold it for the second round, so that we can reflect, and you may find that perhaps our responses also respond to your concerns, Aviwe, and then we will have the SG coming back.
Thank you, Abraham Dino from ANC. Just on the state of natural disaster, how soon can we then see load shedding reduced? And then my second question is around what you mentioned about the EFF seemingly charging towards the president, and that obviously looks criminal in some certain ways. Are you going to take action against that?
If I may, SG, this is your presser, but any question related to the actions of government, we're not going to be able to respond to that because we are still going into the SONA. I know that there was a question from TD also that spoke to the mandate of government. And we keep saying that we're careful not to conflate the party and the state, because that is what has led to the death of many democracies across the world. So all that we can do is to, what's the appropriate word, Steve? Is it direct, advise, recommend, and in some instances intervene and instruct, because we're the governing party. But I wanted to just say, try and find a way of us processing those things beyond the pronouncements by government and the detail that we provided by government, so that when the SG does respond, is responding on the basis of your understanding of the fact that government must do what government must do. So that was just the one thing that I wanted to speak on. But I want to go back to the SG, and then I'll come back. I saw your hands and several hands. I'll come back to that. SG?
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. Newsroom, in terms of the minister about within the presidency and the disaster opening up for looting. The minister in the presidency, in particular electricity, like I said, I wish to repeat, it's not going to be like all other ministers. So this is a special arrangement. I've given you an example. It has happened in history in this country. Minister without portfolio, J. Naidu. His job was to look after implementation of the RDP within government, among others. He could be assigned any other portfolio in the presidency. The Minister of Electricity is an intervention. You don't expect that that particular minister will look at something different either than working on the electricity, particularly the electricity crisis, and ensure that things that needs to happen do happen. The two ministers don't just confine themselves to the crisis. They deal with broader issues in terms of energy mix, renewables, and all of that. This one deals with electricity matters, confined to that. So it's not going to go beyond what is assigned. The president explained it simply and say, you would like that person to sleep, eat, and follow on the actions we have said we'll implement. Issues of accountability in terms of parliament, obviously, they will have to find expression in how that is going to be structured going forward in terms of this ministry. Now, we don't expect a budget of Ministry of Electricity. That will have to be done in the confines of the presidency, because the task of this person is a project manager to ensure that targets have been met by the board and by the management of ESCOM, and report directly to the president. Quite often people ask, is the president hands-on? The president is the chief executive officer of South Africa. So in this particular instance, he can appoint people to act on his behalf and report directly to him. And then that in itself brings the matters close to him to ensure that things do happen. And in doing so, he doesn't need to second guess. He just needs concrete evidence from a well-informed position about what needs to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are faced with a monumental crisis, which is characterized as an existential crisis for this country in terms of business and also South Africa as a brand. I saw Richard Quest here making a joke about us, CNN, here in Cape Town during the mining indaba. And that tells you a story about us, blackouts and blackouts and blackouts. For others, it's a political mileage. But as a country, as a nation, we are facing a monumental disaster. And that disaster, we need to arrest it. It will not be arrested by one person, but government, all hands on deck, everything. One day we will say, this minister was correct or incorrect. One day. And it did help or did not help. Just give space. There is a whole package of things that we have agreed and have been announced should be implemented in averting this crisis. And this Minister of Electricity is going to ensure that these things do happen. Are the concerns of the people far-fetched about disaster being used and all of that? Disaster has never been used. Individuals within the framework of the disaster, particularly with the COVID-19, have acted in a corrupt manner, which was arrested. We had to establish Fusion Center to deal with this corruption. And you media, you don't talk about how much money was recovered. Which money was recovered? That was stolen by people who were using PPEs to steal the money. Money was recovered in billions of rands. And other people have been chased, and some of the people are facing the wrath of the law. They are before the courts. We woke up in this country, somebody we knew was poor, posted on social media 4 or 5 cars, only to find that he was chowing PPE money. And then that person is before the courts. Held accountable by what? By intervention by the state, in terms of some of the interventions. Are the concerns far-fetched? No. We have given you firm commitment, and government have done so. The disaster management, when it comes to expenditure and procurement, is not going to be allowed to go out of hand. Somebody was asking when it was announced that we'll activate diesel capacity in order to back up what is in existence at the current moment, so that we are able to also bring diesel into the space and all of that, and supply diesel, and said that how many tenders, who's going to get the tender, and all of that. All of those things will be dealt with. The most important thing is to do away with load shedding. But at the end of the day, we must not allow the state of disaster, like we have learned from the past, to repeat itself at the present moment. So there are systems, there are checks and balances to ensure that these things don't happen. Political parties do their job to raise their concerns, but at the end of the day, we've got the responsibility to govern. and to take the country out of the crisis that we are in and lead. For them, if this crisis is not resolved, it's a multiplier to their prospects of leading this country through a coalition or by whatever means in 2024. For us, it's not just about 2024. President talks about we are going to implement the just transition within our means, within our own pace. That is what he actually says. And then we are looking at spending over the years 1.8 trillion and so on in terms of the just transition. How many jobs are going to be created? Many things were said yesterday. We need to examine some of those things in terms of injection in the economy, what is going to mean in the next coming years. It means boom. Actually, I like to say this to our colleagues, that if the ANC will be out of power in 2024, the people who are going to come, they will look like they are the smartest, because that's when the reality of change is going to kick in. And the benefits of what we're doing today are going to boom. And then if we're out of power, it will be like we didn't know what we were doing over the years. The people who came in know what they are doing. Watch the story of this state of the nation and tell us at the end of the year, where will we be? And next year's state of the nation, before we go to the elections, where will we be? And we will not just be analyzing what did the Minister of Electricity do. It will be foolhardy of the President to appoint a Ministry of Electricity for a period of less than 12 months and then expect that that ministry will do something different from what should happen at the present moment. That person is going to follow up on what is agreed. And if it is not implemented, from the high office, we want intervention. And heads must roll. Not this thing of calling for the rater must go, and then we don't have empirical evidence of how is this man failing. Today, we are announcing a state of disaster. For the sake of our people, for the sake of our country, we are intervening decisively. We say to our people, we are faced with a crisis. Not just a small thing, crisis. We will cushion the poor in that regard through incentives, particularly for small, medium, macro enterprises in the country. And those details will be announced by Minister of Finance. That is big intervention. That must be felt by the last person who owns a butcher in Umlazi and understand this is how government come to the party to cushion us. And in terms of this load shedding, because this load shedding affects the people in terms of their small and medium enterprises who depend on this ESCOM and all of that. And if a butcher switches off and the meat, get rotten there, business is gone. So how do you cushion that particular person to keep the lights on whilst you address the bigger problem? And that is what this package the president announced is going to do. And it will have a minister 24/7. Not a minister who's going to pass budget. We'll have a budget vote for electricity. We're not going to have such. This is a project manager at a political level. Somebody says, why did you appoint a minister, not a CEO, in the office of the president? You are fighting with us now about people who have appointed to deal with red tape. They don't have political muscle to convene and intervene, to do certain things. When you are just a functionary, people tell you we can't listen to a functionary. But when you are a politician, you've got executive powers to intervene and direct. Then you know things will happen. You need a commander. Obviously, the president must appoint an activist, a knowledgeable individual, not Mbalula who's still going to study electricity and Zwanjani. No, we need a person who's going to hit the ground running with all the skills to do this job and understand that they are not telling the truth. This is not what we agreed to. This is what South Africa needs from us to move. And that is what we're doing. I hear the criticism, the caution that people are raising from certain quarters, the cacophony of voices, where they come from. We need to analyze where they come from, these voices. Some of them are political opportunists, but they are genuine people in these voices who are telling a story that, be careful, people are stealing. You don't use disaster to steal. Let this thing help us. Let me conclude this disaster thing. We said to you, here's the ANC. We looked and examined the issue of the state of emergency. State of emergency involves many things. Soldiers, boots on the ground, dealing and infringing on the rights of people to have fun and to do all of other things. We don't want that. It's there in the Constitution what the state of emergency means. We said, let's look at something faster that can enable us to focus on this crisis, so that we don't deal with this thing ad hoc, the tap and the Leipzig way. We open and close the tap. No, today is stage 3. We wake up tomorrow is stage 8. You call a press conference. No, we don't want that. We want a state of disaster that is focused, where in which the leadership and everybody and the management in this country of ESCOM, ministers involved, will know that stage 8 is coming and how it is going to be prevented. And that, how are we going to stage 1 or stage 2 going forward? And making announcements. That Minister of Electricity is going to keep us informed, weekly or monthly, because he is employed specifically for this job, to oversee that work and reporting to the president and the leadership of this country through NETCOM and cabinet, to pass resolutions and regulations that we can, empowered by state of disaster. As it is, we are unable to do that. With 2 ministers in place, we are unable to do that. We listen to a lot of stories and all of that. Minister Mantashe will get us what he needs to get us, to get gas going. And then as well as Minister Gordon will have to do what he has to do in terms of what we set in this plan will actually have to happen and implement. And that's what we are going to do. And then SABC, Electricity Minister, I've explained. What do we mean? So I hope you have captured that. And there could be additions to that when we put detail to it by the president. Because the president himself listens and all of that. But before we arrive at this decision, and the president arrived at this decision, it was part of the efforts to make us move on this matter of electricity. Because electricity for the ANC is a crisis, and for this country is a disaster that we need to attend to and nip it in the bud. And that's what we need to do. Super cabinet, there is no super cabinet. President have appointed individuals that look after just transition, follow up on red tape and dealing with it. And then we only have Mondli and the deputy ministers in the presidency who are doing the work that is assigned to them to do. And that is it. Now, in the reconfiguration going forward, that situation might change now or in the future. Do we want to spend time on some of the things now in terms of reconfiguration? The president will weigh up in relation to that. But what is urgent for our country today is local government, is electricity, is service delivery, and job creation. We've got to move. And it doesn't mean that we don't have plans. We've got plans. You criticize us. You said that Ramaphosa come to parliament and tell us about summits. He come to parliament and tell us about summits and how many summits is going to convene. How many summits did you count in this state of the nation? Zilch, ne? Except the conference of BRICS. And this is an action state of the nation. This is what this nation wants. Not second-guessing people and then emphasizing issues that are not required by the nation. As the ANC, that is the work we did at the beginning of the year and from our conference. Decisive action for people's interests. That's what we want. So We are not ready to lock ourselves into positions. People were emphasizing reshuffle, reshuffle, reshuffle. We told you that reshuffle, if it comes, will come. Replacement, if it comes, it will come. But that's not where we start. Where we start, it's a plan. And then we look at reshuffle and everything else, who is placed where and correctly. We want runners now. We don't want people who are sleeping on the job. We want runners. We want people who are going to sprint the last mile and ensure that things get done. We've got money. There's no problem of money in government. It is not being spent. So we need to devise means of how that is going to move faster and get money on the ground to close potholes. The problem of closing potholes in this country is not that we don't have money. We give money to provinces, they don't spend it. They return it back to the treasury. 800 million, 600 million. Regional roads, potholes are not closed in the country, but money is back to the coffers. You give people money, 600 million, they built one road, 400 million. 400 million, one road, one province, one road, 400 million gone. Yet the priority should be smaller roads, rural roads, and closing potholes. There will be no potholes in this country if we are focused. So we are moving in that era where there is focus and people are going to be held accountable and be given proper marching orders in terms of that. State of disaster, President, Super Cabinet, local government deployment. Yes, we will deploy CD in terms of local government. We have been threatening this. We have not done it before. That will take NEC members, cabinet ministers, and deploy them to municipalities. It's only Ambi Masondo were deployed. It's time now, in terms of our deployment strategy, as mandated by conference, we think in those lines and implement. So anyone can be deployed. And then last one, I've responded to the issue of EFF adequately, I think, and I've made our position very clear. So we are clear as the ANC in terms of those issues. Our interest is this country to move forward. We are not going to reduce ourselves to a second best party. We are party number one. So we've got to conduct ourselves in a particular way. And I've said it very clear. The ANC is not a bully. We are not allergic to criticism. We don't want people in this country. We fought for this freedom. And but in this country, there are laws in this country. Worst of all, they must be understood by parliamentarians. I've been told, instead of addressing the issues, that I'm illiterate. I can't even write a letter. Fine and good. But this is the discourse in this country. It has gone to the gutter. You are not being engaged on issues and criticized. You are told who you are and where you come from, and your background and what you wear. I don't care you wear Gucci, you wear whatever, or you look ugly or you're beautiful. The most important question is, what is the issue at hand? How do we move the country forward? And where are the faults of the ANC as a government so that we can respond? But if you say in this country that you will render the country unworkable, ungovernable, we did that in 1985. We sacrificed our youth, we went to jail when we were young, 14 years, Free the Children campaign. We did that because this country, we were governed by an unjust system. This is a democratic state. Rule of law must be respected by all. You can't just wake up for political convenience and numbers and all of that and say to our people, go to the streets and close them down and render the country ungovernable. Mobilize the people to get to the streets and march to the union building. Nobody will stop you from that. You've got the right to do that. But as South Africans, as citizens, irrespective of political background and ideology, can we unite on one thing? Against rogueness, political bankruptcy, and anarchy. Can we unite against that? Irrespective, nje, of where we come from. Because tomorrow you'll govern this country. Tomorrow you'll govern this country. So you want to govern this country through hooliganism and disrupting meetings and disrupting people, disrupting social gatherings and all of that. And the country must then stand still around that and not move forward. Tomorrow, yesterday, if we were to succumb to that anarchy, will we be debating the state of the nation today? No. Who would have been at loss here? Political parties will not know what is the program of the government. Our people will be in despair further without knowing what is it that this government, Ramaphosa, is leading as a president of our country, promising us to deliver. Nobody says the president must not be held accountable. He should. Any other matter, he should. And we have argued on those issues of accountability as the ANC, where we stand in relation to our president. And the issue here is that you can't then stop democracy from functioning. You know, on Tuesday, the people who closed that parliament will be inside parliament debating and insulting the president politically and otherwise, and so on, and not giving us solutions. What is the alternative? I listened to John Estesen. I don't agree with him. He had what he called an alternative state of the nation. It is very poor, that state of the nation he delivered. But the fact of the matter is that we've got avenues and mechanisms, but one of which is not in our prescripts, is anarchy and rogueness. It's not guaranteed in our constitution. What is guaranteed in our constitution is freedom of expression. I heard that the media was saying that they were stopped inside parliament and all of that. You shouldn't be stopped, but equally, you cannot elevate anarchy to a state of political discourse. That the whole state of the nation should not be debated. We must debate people who went out of their way to disrupt the parliament, deliberately. And you know, yesterday I was so thirsty, as I conclude, there was not even water there inside, because it was said that we were going to throw each other with water. And then there was a ban on water. We only got water when the EFF left the house there. That's when we got the water. I said, thank you, God. You.
So colleagues, I'm going to take, I'm sitting at about possible, and then we can have the one-on-ones between the SG and various media houses. Okay. Shall I start with you? Yes, please. SABC.
Lula Mamada, SABC. SG, you, thank God, you're talking about fixing municipalities. Even the president referred that in his speech yesterday. And you are saying that some of the collapse of the road in these municipalities was due to politics. I remember in the Nelson Mandela Bay, at some point there were 2 mayors, and at the time it was under ANC administration. Why SG lived until this? Why was there no intervention for so many years in this municipality until 2023? I guess, yes, it's better late than never, but then why wait until damage has been done to this extent? Secondly, as the ANC, I'm sure you have an interest as well, because next year we're going for an election and you want media coverage and everything that goes with that. And I'm sure you have an interest in the appointment of the SABC board. What do you make of the delay as the political party, the ANC? What do you make of the delay in the appointment of the SABC board?
Thank you very much. Shall I then move on to the next one?
I'm Mr. Madura, the Warren Prince of Network 24. Mr. Madura, just on the issue of the Minister of Electricity that you spoke earlier about, I was just thinking that, and you specifically said that this new minister must eat and sleep at home and all at the power station. What is the ANC's thinking with regard to, should this minister be a professional, like an engineer or somebody, or should it, or will it be just another politician that will be appointed in that position?
Thank you very much. Again, straightforward. I'll move on to the next. There was another. Oh yes, it was you.
No, I think she
You covered. Oh, that's lovely. Hopefully, if we don't comprehensively respond to you, then we can always come back as a parting shot. Over to you, SG.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We have been fixing municipalities over the years. We have learned from that fixing what is not working. There are things that are beyond your control as a political party when it comes to the politics of how you shape up a municipality. You get disappointed as a political party with the people you send to government to lead the ANC. When political ANC councillors get into council and appoint a mediocre manager, you ask yourself a question: what kind of people have we sent to local government? And the people we appoint and select and elect to go to government are people's leaders. Because we went to the communities and asked communities, who must represent you here, where you stay? They gave us these people. Literally, some of them are ANC supporters, majority. You know, not even activists. We took the people that are wanted by the communities, we put them in council. What do they do when they get there? They give us all sorts of things. Basically, in a simple language, they show us flames. And it's a political problem, not for society, but for the ANC as a party to deal with. And how do we respond to that? We have said the barometer must help us to respond to that, okay? To hold our councillors accountable. Because you want to turn around the municipality, and then you've got mediocre Section 57 people. A person who doesn't have qualification as an accountant to be CFO, how is that person going to ensure books are balancing and things are going very well in terms of budget disbursement on the ground? And that is what is important to us. So the second part is that our municipalities have been affected largely by the outcome of a democratic dispensation in this country, which is coalitions. Coalitions don't work. ANC have been out of power for 10 years in Nelson Mandela Bay. We lost power there to the DA. What did they do? They fought with the EFF back and forth. And then, who's that mayor who was there, who was speaking Xhosa fluently? Trolip. He left the DA and went, I don't know, to heaven. I don't know where he is now. He's in some other political party. They fought there. No delivery. Go to Nelson Mandela. There's no delivery there. It's under coalition now. We came in, the ANC was leading, very briefly. We lost. We lost to the DA coalition. We have not been in power, my sister, in Nelson Mandela. We have not been in power. We lost power there. They are still singing ANC even if we are not out, we are out of power. They still sing that ANC, ANC. And the reality of the matter is that they are in power. You can go and see all of the things under their government, what they are doing there to deliver for the people of Port Elizabeth. Leave Port Elizabeth. We lost power in Pretoria, the capital city, bankrupt as we speak. It's a mess. The only thing they can sing about is this Cape Town. Distorted. Distorted Cape Town. Where me and you, we are now, there is delivery. I can go anywhere, there is delivery. Let's move further. You will see. No delivery. Now, the DA has been in power there in Tshwane for 10 years. They fought among themselves. Into zabezifaka nesigyolo phakathi and all of that is officing, and then yaphela into yabo pha. So I mean, that's what they've been presiding over there in Tshwane. Malema gave them power there. And now this time around, they are working with that one. Who's that one who doesn't like us? Yeah, yes, Mashaba. They work with Mashaba there in Pretoria. They are still not delivering. ANC is not in power. They are in charge there. No destabilization, nothing. Go to Tshwane now. And I will show you from the time Sputla Ramkhopa was the mayor there of the ANC to date, 10 years of DA in power. What did they do for our people there? What are they doing not only for our constituency, for the people of Tshwane? That Tshwane is bankrupt. Maile intervened there. And then he lost the court battle in terms of putting them under administration. They are still in charge. Joburg has been mnike. We lost. And then now there is a new arrangement which we are examining as the national leadership. We just come in. As the ANC, we are going to have a deep discussion about coalitions today and going into the future. We are going to work for the people, I can assure you. This thing of just getting into arrangements that do not serve our people, and as a liberation movement, we get swallowed into that. It's a political discussion that the ANC will have in the next coming National Executive Committee. We are not just going to allow ourselves to be swallowed into some arrangement that we are not we are a liberation movement who must go back and campaign. We will lead that campaign. I am going to lead a march there in Pretoria. Together with Nomvula and others, we are going to Tshwane to talk about the DA and what they have done there. In Tshwane, we are going to march there. Peaceful. No shutdown. We will mobilize the people of Tshwane and talk to them, and we will communicate that message to the DA-led municipality in Tshwane. Not destabilization. Let them bring services to our people. That's what we're going to do. That's the second political feature of this. Secondly, it is the revenue base, the problems in the municipalities. Mkijima, Enoch, they want municipality to be put under administration. Political ramifications there. People who lost in the ANC have gone and mobilized society against the current government of the municipality in Enoch Mkijima and destabilized the municipality with shutdowns instead of resolving the issue. The minister goes there to listen to them. They insult her. But they want the same minister to declare the municipality moribund and appoint a new administration. They insult the minister, the same organizers. In Mangaung, we're going to intervene there. In the next coming weeks in Mangaung, there will be changes there. We're going to intervene, but the problem is not just there in the head, the mayor and so on. The problem is deep inside, from the management and the people who run the municipality. You've got to look into that. So that's where you bring seasoned people. You know, we ran eThekwini very well over the years. Mark Sutcliffe, we've got a good track record of that city. I'm not sure we can be proud now. Now, we've got to intervene and assist our comrades there to succeed. Of course, they've got constraints of working within the arrangement of a coalition. Where coalitions come, they bring instability. Some party with 3 people demand heaven and earth. The person doesn't care, you know, because he doesn't have a bigger responsibility like the ANC to serve communities. No, he just went in there because the party political system of local government gives him and guarantees him 2 people to be in the council. Then he's got a say. And I've negotiated with many of these political parties. Some are very good. They will tell you from the onset that, no, we don't think we fit this to become mayor. ANC must lead. We will support this. All what we want is the following. It's coalition. It's give or take. It's not a winner takes all. But they respect the fact that we did not emerge as a majority. Appointment of SABC board, I'm not going to comment about that. I think government is dealing with it, and the presidency and parliament. So they must deal with it. SABC issues once gave me a lot of headache. When I raised the reality and you media just changed overnight against me. Nandibona the dictator, engaboni. I want to apportion ANC deficiencies on the media. When I raised my issues, it's not fair, you know. So I don't want to go back there. On behalf of the ANC, I'm now at least Secretary General, so I can't behave like as if I'm not elected SG. So the official position will follow, but we want that process to be concluded as soon as possible, because the SABC board must come into place as quick as possible, and all the glitches must be addressed. The last point, from Netwerk, where is Netwerk? What did you say, the minister?
Just on the issue of the Minister of Electricity, just what the ANC thinking is, should this person be a professional, like an engineer?
Oh, no. We're looking at somebody efficient who understands their story and so on, but he's a minister. Whether he comes with qualifications or not, that's the prerogative of the president, but we want somebody efficient for the job, who understand that environment, who can also be effective in terms of driving. You see, you can't go and deploy somebody who's going to spend 10 months to understand because of deficiencies of academic knowledge and so on. Try to acclimatize, meet people who are going to tell you lies and all of that. So you need at least somebody who's clued up. But with a lot of power minister coming in, rather than just a minister of, a CEO with expertise, of course, but you need a minister there who's clued up and who understands the job. So, as the ANC, that is our expectation, but we support this. And this minister issue, I wish to reiterate, does not mean that ESCOM decision is put under the carpet. There's going to be a lot of theories and conspiracies around this particular issue. The issue of ESCOM going to energy is on the agenda, is part of the reconfiguration. This decision is in no way a prohibition from that. It's not. Because the decision of taking ESCOM to electricity, it's in the context of energy mix. Totally. So it must happen. It's not only ESCOM that we talk about in the resolution. We talk about reconfiguration of state assets, because there's been a misalignment. I was Minister of Transport. You talk logistics and rail. You think it reports to the Minister of Transport. It's somewhere reporting to the SOEs. There was vision behind creating this department. We are now talking of reconfiguration to the point where we create SOE company. And maybe from history and the reasons why we created it, there is no longer reason to have it. So it informs our thinking going forward, what we are going to do with this. We don't just arrive at it and then say everything must go today. Let me tell you, to take and to amalgamate ministries, it takes almost a year in government. So if you say ESCOM must go to energy, it's not something that will go overnight. There's a lot of processes that are followed. We have combined a lot of ministries, changed a lot of things. It took us 2 years to separate education higher and basic education. 2 years full. And that is why NG Mutsega and Blade are still there. Because ANC did not take a quick decision to remove them. And when we begin to see the results, because it took them a lot of time to get to grips and to get that amalgamation fully implemented and reconfiguration. So reconfiguration is from experience, 30 years of democracy. How do you want to structure government? Even going forward, even beyond election. Look at deputy ministers. What is their role? Are they many? Are they fewer? At least cabinet now is not even fewer, but it's more lean and effective. Look at Mandela, President Mbeki, up until somewhere cabinet became big, and but that cabinet, those cabinet delivered a lot. So we need to go back to that experience to check. And at the same time apply the principle of reconfiguration, including looking at the size of cabinet itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. We're done, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Those that are angling for one-on-ones, Amos is there to sequence that. Thank you very much, SG.
One-on-one in the army.
Okay, I don't know if you answered my questions, but it's also okay.
Whether you never get answered.
But I was trying to say to her, and it. That's what the Minister of Accountability to the Presidency. That there is no committee meant to deal with it. Whatever accounts. That's what I was trying to say. And I think she missed it when she spoke about the budget. But it's fine. Again, I'm fine.
No, but listen. No, you will engage. No, you will engage.
I'm not even upset.
You will engage.
I've been upset. I'm not upset.
Yeah, all right.
It's not unnecessary.
Yes. Thank you.
And you also that you're referring to what I'm referring to. But it's not.
It's your statement, though.
No, you misunderstood.
You said,
No, but it's revealing what the age that we are.
you said this document.
What I'm saying is that in a democracy,